Well, that was stupid. So have you ever hurt your back and then decided, hey, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a 5-hour flight out for the weekend to across country. Yeah, I did. And that was not the smartest thing to do. But we are now currently sitting at 5 weeks out. Just got back from Seattle, West Coast to East Coast, East Coast to West Coast, and back's feeling okay, fortunately. Wasn't a major thing. Thought it might have been a major thing, but turns out to just be a tweak. So been doing our back exercises, the McGill 3, which is great. It's basically like a abdominal hold, and then a side plank, and then bird dogs. And we've been doing those every morning and every night, and it's really, really stabilized the area already. It's one of those things like, why are we so stupid, right? It's one of those things that we know we should be doing. It's one of those things I know I should be doing because that's a weak point for me. But once we get better, we just stop doing it. It's so simple. It's 3 to 5 minutes out of my morning and night, really. So it's like 3 minutes out of each to make sure that I am injury free. And yet, you just stop doing them, right? Why? Why? There's no answer. There's no good answer. But what did happen this weekend is I failed. I failed big time. So some of the choices that we made during this trip, like this right here, this is a prime example of pretty much a perfect choice for what we're trying to do, right? Went little veggies, olives and things like that, but that's not a big deal. Went egg, sausage, that type of thing, right? Now, things like this, that wasn't quite a perfect choice. That's one of those bro things where you're like, well, it's got chicken in it, right? Cheese is protein, you know, the tortilla's carbs, like, it's just that stupid logic that we all play in our heads. But regardless of what did happen, I can't worry about that, right? If I screwed up my results for the show, then I did it to myself. But I made that decision in the moment, right? I made that decision that weekend. Now I brought food with me. I still ate some of my food. So I still went, 2 or 3 clean meals a day, but then enjoyed myself here and there. Again, did a lot of walking. Didn't go to the gym though. Took all 3 days off. So there's, give and takes there, but at no point would I say that I should have done it, but I also don't regret it, right? Because to live in that past, to live in that type of mentality would just ruin this whole week. Or you get into the other type that really ruins your progress of, okay, well, I did that this weekend, so now I have to change the program this week to catch up. There is no catching up. Jump back into your program, get it done. What happened during the weekend or the day before or party or whatever, that happened. The only thing you control is today and what you do tomorrow. What you've already done, can't change it. So why let it bother you? Why let it bleed into what we could end up getting done? So we could go we could do a 3-day fast. But is that gonna get us the results we want? No. And when we finally do eat food, our body's gonna have to accept that again, and we just did something else that we're gonna have to play catch up with. So, dealing with our injury here, we're getting better and better. Back didn't hurt that much coming back from the trip. Right now, I like to be as transparent as possible on this channel. So I came back a couple days ago. Maybe it was 3 days ago. So for 3 days, the water weight has already kind of gone away, or come off the body a little bit, and we'll do a little posing at the end of this to see exactly what I look like. Understanding that I'm getting a pump now. It's much different when you work out, sweating, all that type of stuff. But to deal with the injury, I'm not doing any free weights for back, right? I just included, as you saw before, dumbbells for chest, but I try to do like 1 or 2 exercises and then I'll go to machines. I want to be as stable as possible. On the other end of it, to help heal the injury, or tweak, I should say, not really an injury. We need to know the difference between that, being injured, being hurt, and being in pain. 3 very different things, and 3 very different ways of healing yourself and getting better. So what I'm doing here is a lot of planking. I'm doing my McGill 3 twice a day. Doing some dumbbell carries, suitcase carries on one side, really stabilizing that core. Again, just light stuff, and adding a little bit either each workout or every other workout or every other time I do it, so that we're building that strength back, right? But I'm not gonna use dumbbell or barbell rows while I want to. And for me, that comes down to 2 reasons. Number 1, it's very hard to stabilize yourself fully when doing those compound exercises like that, whether it be a dumbbell or a barbell. There's always gonna be a little bit of movement. It just is. So you're not gonna have, and I don't wanna put any unneeded pressure on this lower back, because ultimately at the end of this prep, I would like to start a strength program again and start building that back, right? And that's gonna be from ground zero. That's foundation strength building. I'm going all the way back down to like a 135 squat and working my way week by week up, right? I'm gonna work on mechanics. I'm gonna work on strength, obviously, mobility, like the whole thing. Something that I haven't done in years. And I think that's where a lot of these little tweaks, my knee feels a little off, your hip feels a little off, things aren't firing properly. And when things don't fire properly, that means something else in that chain has to pick up the stress. That's how we get injured. So I don't want to put any unneeded stress on that lower back. And number 2 reason for that is because I know myself. I know my mentality. If I grab a dumbbell and I'm doing rows and it's light, I'm gonna want to go heavier, right? If I grab a barbell and I'm doing rows and I'm like, just repping them out, I'm gonna want to go heavier. And the heavier you go, the more stress it's gonna put on that lower back. So that's just knowing you and having that discipline to sort of restrain yourself, right? I'm past that ego stage. I don't give a shit if I squat 135 for the rest of my life. I don't give a shit if I squat anymore. I still want to, because I enjoy it. But if I couldn't, or if I don't, it's not a thing, right? I just love being in here. This is my outlet. This is my way to this is my time, right? And I'm sharing it with you guys, but this is my time. This is my thing. And I just love it. And I want to share the knowledge with you guys that I've gained over, 15 years of doing this, and probably the first 10 of it doing it wrong. To be honest with you, you get improvements here and there, but it was a shit show. It just was. But now, after learning and after hiring coaches and mentors and things like that, you start to develop into an actual person with knowledge. And now you have the experience of doing it wrong and the experience of doing it right, and realizing, shit, that was a lot of wasted years where I could have made a lot of progress, especially like prime years where I could have made a lot of progress. And instead I just ended up injuring myself every 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So again, all transparency here. This is after complete workout, 3 days back. Just did 20 minutes of cardio as well. Good upper. I didn't mention before, we're back to, or we've transitioned into an upper lower off type of split, and we're gonna run that straight to show day. So basically about 5 weeks of that, and I'll probably keep that for a couple weeks afterwards. Just because this last week I've kind of liked it. We work arms here and there in our afternoon or our second session, right? So we don't have to worry about that. We just have to worry about shoulders, chest, back during our push days, and it just seems to work out. So let's pop this thing up. All in all, feeling pretty good about what's going to happen. Didn't feel too good last week or last weekend coming back. Monday's pictures, no go. But 3 days later, we're kind of back to where we started. Remember, it's 3 days later. This was directly after the flight, right? The next morning. So everything's coming back. It does. I don't regret my decisions, like I said before, but I could have made smarter ones, and I'll learn from it. Not a big deal. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Catch you in the next one.